So several of the line items that would be included with a service like this would be data infrastructure recovery, looking at dedicated database resources, the analytical pitch. Hi guys, my name's Deepak Shukla, founder at Pearl+Lemon+Sales. We're a sales training and development agency based in the UK as well as the USA, but serving clients worldwide. And here today, in day number 92 of 119 days of cold calling training, we're here to discuss the analytical pitch. But before we get into it, feel free to click the link in the description below to get access to 17 additional strategies that are not shared in this training. So fundamentally, we're talking now about types of pitches and elements that you need to be comfortable with depending upon who you're speaking to. So there's always going to be, let's call it a core elevator that is your 15 to 20-second pitch to get out what the business does, okay? So that's your bird's eye view elevator. Now, according to who it is that you're speaking with, you're going to need different types of pitches. So one of them is the analytical pitch. So that's really for the person who wants to understand the technical components of what the product is, okay? Technical components of what the product is, and you need to be prepared to answer it. So good examples within Pearl+Lemon+ Sales might be if someone asks, so Deepak, can you walk me through what in terms of time and materials working with your team would look like? Like it's just, we're getting cold calls and nothing else. To which I might respond, well, it's not just cold calls that you're getting. We're going to be doing power dialing day upon day. So we use a system called Crazy Call, and that allows us to dial one number in sequence after another. We are able then to, from our setup, send you call reporting on a Friday basis. So we'll have the calls, of course, that we're doing, the actual calls themselves. We'll be able to give you reporting as to how many calls were placed and how many were successful on a Friday, which you'll get across in a weekly report. Will be accessible via WhatsApp. We'll set up a shared group, and that'll be a point of discussion where we can, whenever day to day something comes up, to discuss it there. On a weekly basis, we can have a call to go through the reports and just to discuss the campaign strategy in general. Depending upon what happens, we also set up an email account with a. So do you see what I'm doing there, guys? That I'm outlining or I'm weaving in the technical parts of the product, so the prospect feels that there is depth to the service. And the analytical element is about really demonstrating depth, and this is what you're trying to do when it comes to the people that will really desire to know the meat of the product. So you need to have some understanding of this, okay? You need to have an understanding of, what does the product delivery involve, and what are some of the elements. Now, I would hasten to say that if you're cold calling and your job is to set up an appointment, it's good to know really some of the, let's call it, keywords that are relevant to your pitch, and that's what's going to be important here. So every, for example, pitch is going to have some keywords that are going to be important to what the product is. Now, as the level of the technical level of the pitch increases, depending upon what it is that you're selling, then correspondingly, there's going to be a bit of an inverse correlation with how competent you can become at the analytical elements of the pitch. But everybody can certainly learn something. So I'd say that, if you're able to, at least for one or two elements of it, talk about it in a little bit of detail, then that's going to really, really help you with the actual pitch, because there's going to be some people that you come across that are just going to want to understand a little bit about the detail of the product before they agree to a phone call. And I've had this before, where even myself, where I've not properly done the analysis, and then I've got onto a call with someone who's technical, and I've not been able to satisfy one or two of their points. So they said, well, you know what, get those answers to me in an email, I'll consider it, and then I'll follow up. Whereas if I was able to confidently answer some of their questions, can you give me an example of what your deliverable would look like within a hedge fund, Deepak? As an example, that was a question I was asked once, and I didn't have a ready example that could walk through some of the technical elements of the technical elements of what it might look like. So with the reason I call this the analytical pitch is that you need to combine some of those technical elements with an analysis, a brief analysis of how they work together. So depending upon the complexity of the product, that will determine how comfortable you are with doing this. But you should, at least with 1 to 2 elements of their service, be able to talk about it and what the implementation of that might look like. And there's different ways that you can approach this. Okay, you can approach it from a technical communications and analytical communication standpoint. So, whilst you might not know, for example, about, there was something else like database DDM services, which is database disaster management. You can say or refer to, so as an example, Richard, with our DDM service, database disaster management, what would happen in the instance that there's some challenges with the database? It would immediately trigger a red flag on our system, within which we would notify your entire IT desk as to what's happening in that instance. At that moment, we'd request people take immediate backups as best as they can. We would look at isolating that specific database, and then we would have a emergency call to understand what's happening post our own initial diagnosis, as well as anything that you do on your side to try and identify and resolve the problem. So do you see there, guys? Now I'm going to talk about analytically about our process without talking about what the issues might be, like a 2FA, a two-factor authentication that tripped something out or got locked, that caused the lockout. So there's different reasons for example, why that issue might have happened. But as long as you're able to analytically talk about something in terms of the next steps and really give a sense of what working with your company might look like analytically, that's what we're trying to communicate through the analytical pitch. And if you're able to do that, it's going to give the prospect a lot more comfort with your product knowledge, but also comfort with working with your company, because I'll see, okay, there's a real service behind this, and it's not just someone making a cold call and flogging something that they're not truly familiar with. So take the time to at least understand 1 to 2 elements that you think could cover 80% of the pitches, and it's going to really help you nail ultimately those appointments moving forward. So there you have it, guys, the analytical pitch.